Good afternoon. This is the JP Dinnell podcast, episode 46. I am JP Dinnell, and as always, I have Lucas with me. Today, I have the honor of having my buddy Ethan May on the podcast with us. Or should I say, Pastor Ethan May.
What up?
I first met Ethan in a group workout that my buddy Pastor Tyrone put together for a group of men from Milestone Church. When I first met Ethan, I knew we were very similar and would get along well. As some might say, cut from the same cloth when it came to a lot of things in life. I'll tell you what, there's nothing like getting after it in a hard group workout to develop a friendship. Ethan is also one of the lead youth pastors at Milestone Church, where we go to church, and has been leading our kids in an incredible way. He's an awesome man of God. He is a husband. He's a father. He's a veteran. And I am really looking forward to us diving deeper into who Ethan is and just learning about him. What's up, my man? How are you?
I'm great, man. Just pumped to be here with you and Lucas, and
I
looking
know.
forward to today.
Yeah, and you guys met at the muster.
We did, yeah. We met
Let's
at 017. We were bookending Mrs. Mary Dinnell.
You guys were
Yes.
security for my mom at the muster.
Yes.
We were left and right.
Dude, that was awesome.
She was the least secure person at the muster sitting between the two of us.
Back when Lucas had much longer hair.
I did, yeah. I was prettier back then.
Yeah.
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 Yep.
A little thinner now. You know, you looking good.
Yeah, thanks for pointing out that it was thinner, Ethan. I really appreciate that. Why is he
No,
on
no,
our show today?
not your hair, your body.
Oh,
your
yeah,
body.
leaner.
Okay.
Leaner.
I thought this was a comment about how much more my forehead was showing.
No. I'm the only bald one at
maybe.
this
I'm
table.
just looking
okay?
to take offense at things already.
He's like, I'm the bald
But I
one.
am trying to be the quintessential millennial. When you say something, I'm going to take offense to it. I'd also like my trophy for being here.
Yeah,
If
can I
anybody
have a
gets to make
participation
that
trophy?
happen. Yeah.
You know, those are super helpful
Yeah.
and
They're
valuable
great.
in life.
I brought a 5x5. I'm going to sign it for you.
That's cool.
Lucas
Thanks.
participated.
I appreciate it. I'll put it in my photo album.
All right, Ethan, let's jump into this. Where are you from, man?
So I actually am from Lubbock, born in West Texas. We lived not even in a town outside of Lubbock when I was born there. There was a place called Girlstown. A lot more people have heard of in West Texas Boys Ranch, like a Christian organization that would take in struggling teens. And so the lesser known was Girlstown. And so when I was born, my dad was the chaplain out there. So until kindergarten, I essentially lived on like a campground, because that's basically what it was. Like, like gymnasium, pool, a lot of duplexes. So my earliest memories, like, we lived in a duplex. Mom cut our hair. Dad made us bikes from scraps at the junkyard. And it was just me and my brother. And then I've got about 3.5 years on my sister. So she came in kind of at the end.
Wow.
But, we lived, like, way out in the middle of nowhere, West Texas.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's super random. And then kindergarten, we moved into Levelland, and my dad was the senior pastor at like a small Presbyterian church in Levelland. So
that's cool. So your dad's a chaplain out in West Texas, middle of nowhere. Not a lot of money
no.
in that. And, you know, so you guys are living a somewhat modest life. And, you know, but you still have a great childhood.
Yeah, no. My brother and I only have about 18 months between us.
Irish twins.
Yeah. Basically,
That's like Corey and I.
I was, for my parents, I was a little bit of an oopsie. I was also 2 months premature.
Oh, wow.
So doctors told my mom, this baby's too small, he's not going to make it. And my mom was like, I'm going to go home and pray about this, and we're going to see who's right.
Yeah.
So
It sounds like something Lucas's mom
Yeah,
would say.
no,
My mom would
no.
100% say the same thing.
So I think I was due April 1st, and I came February 1st. So I was like
wow.
4 pounds 6 ounces,
Wow.
somewhere in there. So had a lot of health complications as a baby, couple months in the NICU. You know, early 90s. I was born in 92.
Okay.
You know, medical science wasn't quite, you know, what it is now. But I lived in a little tent in the NICU, and boy, we came through. So.
Dude, God is good.
Yeah.
Dude, that's cool. And so when did you guys move away from that area?
So kindergarten, we moved into Levelland, and my dad was the senior pastor of that church for just over 3 years. And then summer after third grade, we moved to Amarillo, Texas. So we still stayed West Texas. And my dad went to work for Jimmy Evans, and my mom taught at the school that was attached to Trinity Church out in Amarillo.
Oh, wow.
So, like, if you ever heard of Marriage on the Rock, my parents were part of the like pilot group, essentially, early on, helping with some like Marriage on the Rock stuff. And so
that's the devotion that Kirsten and I have been doing the past year. Jimmy Evans is who wrote that.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
Dude,
so
rad.
Trinity has some association with like how Gateway got started.
Okay.
Lots of overlap there. And then Jimmy was a big part of Gateway for years, and then they kind of, I guess, had a falling out. And then now he does a little bit more with Fellowship Church over in Grapevine. But he still runs, it's not called Marriage on the Rock anymore. It's called XO Marriage.
Yeah.
So,
I actually went to it one year with Amanda.
Yeah, nice. So, kind of, that was summer after third grade. So 4th, 5th, and 6th grade out in Amarillo. My mom taught at the Christian school attached to Trinity Church. And then summer after 7th grade, we moved to Fort Worth. And so Fort Worth's home to me. I always say Fort Worth is home.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Matt Russell, who started Walking in Truth Ministries, him and his wife and family, they live out in Amarillo.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So been out there a few times. Whenever we go out to the Pursuits, it's in Cedar Canyon, south of Amarillo.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you know that church camp down there, or no?
No.
Cedar Canyon. It's south of Amarillo.
Okay.
It's beautiful.
Nice.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them, you got Polladura Canyon out there.
It's literally right at the start of Polladura Canyon.
Okay,
it's
cool.
down in Polladura Canyon.
Yeah, I still have a ton of family out there. My aunt and uncle still live out there in the same house that actually my parents got married in their living room.
Dude, that's cool.
In the middle of a snowstorm in like 1987.
What?
Amarillo, Texas, like 20 people there.
Dude, I love little stories like that.
Oh man, puppy love's real to puppies, man. My parents were like the quintessential
That's the title of this episode.
My parents were the quintessential, like, I think mom was 18 about to turn 19 and dad had just turned 20. Cuz their birthday, it's like dad's birthday is December 14th, mom's birthday is December 28th. And their anniversary, I want to say, is the 18th. So it's all boom, boom, boom right in there. Wow. But parents are still going strong. They live in Brady, which is like the geographical center of Texas. My dad was born in Sweetwater, but grew up in Brady. So my dad now, he's the pastor of a church down in Brady.
Dude, that's awesome.
And
just a life of ministry.
That's what I grew up in.
That's cool. Any sports growing up?
I played. So we're like a football family through and through.
Okay.
So like my grandpa has newspaper clippings of like one of his brothers who was like a really big deal at Texas Tech after the war. Oh, wow. I want to say he was like all state, like late 30s, early 40s, and then him and my great-grandpa got drafted together. So some really cool family history in there, all from Sweetwater. So if you drive through Sweetwater, there's May Road, and apparently that has to do with our family.
Bro.
And my great-grandfather, S.J., he was after the war, came home, started a lumber company with his brother because all the GI housing, and they would drive a truck to Mexico to get lumber because you couldn't get lumber in the U.S. So they started this lumber company, and actually I have a bag that my grandpa gave me, and we framed it. It says May Bros Lumber. It hangs above my son's crib. It's pretty cool.
That is outstanding.
It's really cool. And so they would drive the lumber truck to Mexico to get lumber and would do GI housing. And then later he became the mayor of Sweetwater. So kind of some cool, like, rich family history.
I want to go down there. That'd be cool to go down there.
I think when I think, because I barely remember my great-grandpa, but my pawpaw Jay, my dad's dad, who's like one of my heroes, who my son's named after, love Pawpaw Jay. He he tells this story that when his dad was flying into the Marshall Islands, was in the Army Air Corps, World War II, was flying into the Marshall Islands, and their plane was getting flaked, and apparently he said a quick prayer and was like, God, if you get me out of this, I'll serve you with my life. And so as the joke goes, my grandpa says, well, he never upheld his end of the bargain, but, God got him out of it. But ironically, my grandpa, elder in the church, my dad's a pastor, I'm now in ministry. So I'm like, it's kind of cool that it's like he never held up his end of the bargain, but his lineage did, which is cool to think about.
That's rad. What type of aircraft was he flying? Do you know?
I have no clue.
Okay.
No, that was just when they were flying in. So he didn't fly.
Okay. I'm sorry.
I actually don't know what he did. I knew that he was real handy with like woodworking and stuff. He found favor with, I guess, the general out there because he built him a desk. Like got a bunch of wood and made him a desk, and like
so he's a handyman.
Yeah, a super handyman through and through. But I actually don't know what he did. I need to ask my grandpa. Years ago, he's got this giant box, and he pulled it out, and there was letters and pictures and like a bunch of keepsake from the war, which is super cool. And then my grandpa still has the flag that was given to him at his funeral, and he was like, one day soon I'll give it to you because he's like, you're the only person in the family down the line that served in the military in any capacity. So pretty cool.
When you're saying the war, you're talking about World War II?
Yeah, World War II.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
As a kid, I called it War II. I was like, wow, it was so bad. It was War II. Didn't understand that it was World War II. So
so much extra emphasis.
Yeah.
Not only did they call it War, but they put the two in there so that hey,
Second War. Okay,
we put War in there on purpose. It needed to be dealt with.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that mixes things up in my brain.
100%.
As a kid and as an adult, I do that.
100%.
Okay, so football. You play football?
Yeah.
What
So.
position?
Yeah, that was quite the rabbit trail.
I'm so glad we went down that. That was awesome.
So I was being a preemie and whatnot. Like I was a pretty small kid until I hit puberty. So some people say that they hit puberty. I like to say that puberty hit me. And so, but I didn't get tall. I just got fat. And so that was summer after 6th grade when we moved to Fort Worth. So I always played skill positions as a kid. So like I think my first year playing tackle football in pads, 5th grade in Amarillo, and it was like tight end and linebacker, and then played for the small private school that we were at and played wide receiver and corner. And then in 7th grade we moved here, and I hadn't quite gotten massive yet, but puberty was setting in. And of course, in middle school, no one throws the ball or anything. So still played wide receiver and defensive end. And then by 8th grade, your boy was hefty, and so started playing.
What is hefty?
Offensive line. I just short and round, man. Like just
put a number to hefty.
I mean, I don't. I'll butcher it, but I mean, I had to be like, 5'5" and like, 190, 200. Like, I mean, and that might be that's probably exaggerating, but I was just a healthy fella.
Yeah. The buffet owners were not happy to see you coming.
No. They're like, this guy again.
Yeah. Golden Corral.
I'm like, you've been here for 4 hours, man.
No, my parents didn't ever want to pay for Golden Corral. They're like, we're not going there. So the
Luby's.
The bingo.
Come on, baby.
Bingo. Luby's and Mimi's Kitchen.
That's it.
Really? Mimi could cook anything.
I'm going to have to learn about this. I'm going to have to try this out.
You won't.
Yeah.
You won't.
Okay.
As the joke goes, so like
Judgmental.
being a preemie, the big deal is you have to hit all your markers and put on weight and yada yada. So when my mom tells the story of me being a kid, she's like, I would just call, Grandma Vicky. I would call your Mimi. I would call all the ladies who prayed in the church and be like, hey, we got to start praying that Ethan starts eating. And so I was like, Mom, y'all prayed entirely too hard because it's been 30 plus years and I'm still going. Like, there's been no stop. So yeah, played football through my sophomore year of high school, and I parked right at 5'8", and like I said, was round. So I wasn't like good enough. Always had football IQ, understood the game, grew up watching it, like early memories just watching football with my dad. And but by the time sophomore year ended, I was like, I'm too small to be any sort of lineman, but I'm not like fast enough, skilled enough to play any other position. So I quit football and joined the choir.
That's awesome. So you had the realization, like it was a legit realization of like, hey, I love the sport. I know the sport inside and out. Like you said, you had the IQ, which I know it had to have been frustrating because you love the sport. It's what your family does. You watch it. You have family members play, and you know you're doing well. And then all of a sudden you're like, I'm actually not able to keep up anymore. So you made that decision.
Yeah,
that's impressive for a sophomore to be able to like have that much awareness and control over your ego to be like, you know what?
Well, I just realized I wasn't good, and I didn't like practice.
I'm just saying, you're laughing, but this is not a common thing. There's a lot of kids that have this false expectation. They're like, no. You're like, dude, you're not good. Like if you know, like, so if like Jiu-Jitsu, I can do Jiu-Jitsu and just keep not being good, and it's not a big deal because I can do Jiu-Jitsu all the time and be bad. You can't be bad and keep playing football because you're going to be on the team, but you'll never play. I can go sign up for every jiu-jitsu tournament I want and lose.
Yeah.
And just be like, I really like competing. Like, all right, well, congratulations. You've lost for 5 years in a row. And I'd be like, yeah, but I just really enjoy it.
Yeah.
Football, you can't do that.
No.
It's like anytime we're trying to give him credit for an honest self-assessment that Ethan's like, you actually don't realize how bad at football I was. Like this was not an honest self-assessment. This was survival.
No, this was a real honest self. This is a real honest.
It's like he's trying to talk us down off the compliment we're giving him.
I had my moments and still loved football, but I went to a pretty big. I think they were just like big 4A at the time. I went to Boswell High School over in Eagle Mount, Saginaw. And they had a big program, and a lot of my really close friends were like my best friend was like our like stud quarterback, and I was like, that ain't me. But Boswell had a really good choir program because the choir director was a guy that had been there for like 30 years, amazing dude. And so it wasn't like nerdy or weird. It was like, no, choir's fun, and they went skiing every year. So I was like, I get to go snow skiing. So when we lived in West Texas, awesome. 7 or 8 hour drive up, so we would go skiing periodically. So I loved snow skiing. I was like, there's cute girls and we go snow skiing. So that was cool.
I would have joined choir.
Oh, 100%. So
I'm just picturing you
I just can't sing.
in the ski outfit with the proportions that you gave us earlier.
Okay, so
it's like a bumblebee.
I will show you a picture. This is a legit story. A friend of mine had a full-on bunny costume.
That's what I'm talking about.
Like out of a Christmas Story. And he let me have it. And our senior ski trip, we went to Breckenridge, and I have pictures of me in said bunny suit rolling down the slopes.
Bro, I need those.
And so they're buried on Facebook somewhere. I will find them and get them to you. There is me in a bunny suit just being not thin on the slopes, and it is a good time.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
All right, so how was high school overall for you?
High school was good. I always classes were easy. I very as one teacher said, the poster child for Ritalin, the OG study drug. And so I had a really hard time paying attention, very fast, active, kind of ADD mind. But I retained things, especially that I would hear. So I never applied myself, but was a pretty steady A/B student.
Okay.
And so academically, high school wasn't hard, and like I said, I never applied myself. I was only focused on the social aspect of high school.
Okay.
So our big O high school, and I didn't even realize I had just had major people pleasing and kind of self-image issues in high school looking back on it. But every year our school did this award called the class favorite. And my goal every year was just to win that award. So I went back-to-back sophomore, junior year, got class favorite, and then they gave me most spirited as a senior because I did choir, but I also did this they called it Blue Crew. We'd put on like these like coveralls that we would deck out, and they let us be on the sidelines during every football game. And then I would lead all the school pep rallies. So I would MC all the pep rallies. So I still stayed involved. But yeah, high school was cool. I kept my nose clean kind of as a freshman. My brother was a little bit wild, and honestly, I wanted to be close with him, so I kind of got into partying like sophomore, junior year. So sophomore, junior year were pretty rough. You're just trying to find yourself. My parents went from like pretty overbearing growing up. I like to say our home growing up, especially in the younger years, our house had more rules than the Old Testament. And so my mom ran a tight ship, but they kind of gave us our space in high school. And so sophomore, junior year, pretty rough. And I never didn't believe in God, but I can just remember like, oh, I want to do what I want.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to go make friends. I'm going to be the cool guy. I'm going to, party hardy and whatnot. So sophomore, junior year were rough. And then I went to a summer camp. It was actually a Young Life camp.
Oh, yes.
Between junior and senior year of high school, and that's where I felt like called to ministry and was like, man, I need to get my stuff together.
What Young Life camp was it?
It was in Colorado. I don't remember what part. It wasn't Beaver Creek because I know they ski out there and there's another campground. I don't remember where it was. Beautiful camp.
That's where they're based out of, correct? Colorado?
I think.
Young Life? I think so.
I'm pretty sure because one of my cousins worked for them for a while and was awesome. In Colorado. I mean,
such a great organization. I did Young Life in high school, and I mean they've been around forever.
Yeah, there was a small church not far from our school that had a Young Life program, and the pastor's wife would substitute at the school, and we just talked a lot. And she was like, "You got to come to Young Life," and so ended up going kind of back little part of junior year, which is probably like my most miserable year. I dated the choir director's daughter, and we broke up, and I was just distraught, And so junior year was rough, but then that summer of senior year was awesome. Like, kind of like finding my faith again, and then actually, I think it was beginning of that summer is when I started to go to with my parents to Milestone on the weekends.
Oh, wow.
So I started going to Milestone in 2008, and then found Elevate, the youth group, in 2009. So I remember I went to, we have our fall retreat every year.
Yeah.
Our student retreat, and I went to that as a senior in high school, so fall of 2009, because I graduated in 2010, and it radically impacted my life.
How many kids were in Elevate back then?
I want to say it had to be like 200 or 300.
200 or 300.
If that, maybe 200. I don't really remember. Yeah. But it was Pastor Tyron.
Yeah.
Doing his thing. I love Pastor Tyron.
Yeah.
I loved going to Elevate because I was like, man, this dude is raw. Like, this dude is awesome.
He's very, very raw, very real, very relatable, no matter what your background
100%.
is. Like, it doesn't matter if you had a phenomenal childhood or if you had a horrible childhood, kind of like he did.
Yeah.
Not putting words in his mouth, but from the bits I've heard from testimonies
100%.
and preaching, I know his childhood was very, very unique.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so everyone's able to relate to him. When we went to Milestone, we went on we tried it out. It was on a Saturday night, I believe. And he was preaching.
Oh, nice.
And I was like,
I like this guy.
I want to meet this guy. Okay, so you go to Milestone. So before you graduate, anytime throughout growing up, was there any like really defining moments as a kid that maybe changed things or made you think like, I've got to reevaluate some things in my life? Did any friends get arrested or killed or injured or like an accident or anything at home? Like, or was just kind of everything just steady Eddie for you, and just God spoke to you at that Young Life event?
No, I think of really, my childhood was almost like I think it's all marked by my relationship with God. And I know that sounds probably a little bit cheesy, but all of it was marked by, I think, marking moments or defining moments in my walk with God. So, like I remember getting saved probably summer after kindergarten at a VBS when we were still out in West Texas in Levelland. And I just remember knowing, man, I just essentially recognizing my need for Jesus. I'm not going to be perfect. I can't save myself. I know I'm in need of a Savior. And so, like, I remember that night, I remember going to church camps probably summer after second grade and really experiencing, like, the presence of God for the first time at a church camp outside of Tulsa called Dry Gulch, which is no longer – they sold off to another camp. But I remember that defining moment.
And what grade was that?
That had to be – I want to say summer – it had to be summer after second grade, because summer after third grade we moved to Amarillo. So I want to say summer after second grade.
Wow. That's kind of similar story to you, Lucas, growing up, huh? Just – a real good childhood.
Yeah,
God
solid.
Speaking to you.
Yeah, kids growing up in the church, parents that were really involved, and
That's so cool.
all that stuff. Yeah, man, it's rad. There's
Yeah.
a lot of relatability there,
For sure.
You know, especially in the puberty. Missed me. Like puberty, just I watched people hit puberty. And I was like, where did it go? It hit me like a hard breeze, and then left.
Nicked him.
Yeah, nicked me like Shane Gillis. I just said, just nicked me. Puberty just nicked me.
I dodged it, but
gave
it
me a
nicked me.
beard. Yeah, gave me a beard and then took off. He's like, "That's all you get, son. I'm out."
See you, dude.
Yeah. Watch your friends get taller and do things in athletics. Peace.
Exactly.
And
That's
took
how
off
it was.
like what's his name? Like a He-Man. Just turned around and was like, "Well, that's it. I'm out of here."
See ya.
Yeah, I definitely did not get. I didn't get size or height.
Yeah,
Like, you
no.
got size. I got like.
Oh, you're pretty beefy now.
Yeah, now I'm 41. We're talking about like when we were a kid.
In a few years.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
I went through buds at
Done some
145,
stuff. Gosh,
and
that's
I thought I was
crazy.
jacked. I was like, bro, I'm so big right now.
Dude, seeing pictures of you in your early Navy days, I'm like you were like small. Like it's weird.
Yes, very small.
I was like, wow.
Yeah.
nimble.
Scrappy little JP.
Yeah, 80 pounds ago.
Wow.
All right.
Yeah, relatability for sure.
Yeah.
I'm feeling a kindred spirit over there on the other side of the table.
What caused you to join the military? When did you join the military?
Yeah, so I felt called to ministry that summer, and was like, well, I have been living really essentially double life, and that ate at my core. I was like, I remember like hearing early on in children's church, David was a man after God's own heart. And I remember hearing the phrase, oh, that person is what you see is what you get. And I really feel like those were two phrases that really like seared in me that I wanted to be. And so I hated that I felt two-faced. Like, yeah, I could sit here and say I'm a Christian all day, and some people know like I'm a pastor's kid, or my dad works in ministry, blah blah blah. But I hated that I felt two-faced, and so I was like, man, I got to get my stuff together. So senior year starts, and feeling called to ministry, I was like, man, I'll go to Dallas Baptist and I'll study theology because that's what Dad did. So my dad, got his master's from DBU. My mom did her undergrad there. And I was like, cool, that's what I'll do. So the chancellor at the time was still a guy named Dr. Cook, who both my parents worked for while they're at DBU, set up some meetings, applied for some scholarships. I got a half ride, and they were going to give me some other grants. I was like, sweet. But then I saw the price tag on that other half, and I was like, who pays for that? Like, it was just like little bubble bursting moment of like, oh, mom and dad don't just have like a stockpile of cash somewhere that they just pay for school. Yeah. And so I realized, I was like, man, I just knew I didn't want to start life with a mountain of debt, and was like,
smart.
That ain't it. So then I was just kind of in this lull, like I have no clue what I'm going to do. So out of the blue, actually one of my really good friends the summer after junior year, a guy named David Estep, he joined the Marine Corps. And I was like, cool. I thought it was so like honorable and cool.
That's awesome.
And so I just remember having the thought of like, man, that's honorable. Like that's really cool. And I would see him when he was on leave, and you know, got the high and tight, just looking beefy, and I was like, nice. So just the thought of the military kind of looming, you know, knowing family history. So that was just, I think, somewhere just like in my subconscious. Cool. And so one of my best friends had a meeting set up with a recruiter, and one of our other best friends was supposed to go with him. That dude, they had the drug dogs on school property that day. He had a little grass in his car. So Joseph got taken out of the equation. So my buddy Blake was like, hey, man, you want to go to this Army recruiter with me? And I just happened to not be working that night. And so I was like, sure, man, because I worked all throughout high school, which was great. But I was like, sure, man. So I go see this recruiter with my buddy Blake, and I'm just really intrigued. Like, he's laying out some of the benefits, especially that college. He's like, here's, you know, a roundabout estimate. You know, they give you that big old fake check. That's here's $77,000 for college. I'm like, wow, that's a lot of money.
Yeah. Can I cash this now?
Can I take this to the bank? You know? So I feel like that guy from Semi-Pro, Will Ferrell, gives him the big check, and he keeps trying to take it to the bank. He's like, I can't cash this? So that was me. So that became intriguing, because I was like, okay, the thought of someone pays for school, okay. So it's kind of lingering in my mind. My buddy Blake ends up like, hey, I'm not doing it. But I met with a recruiter a couple more times, and really I came to this crossroads where I was like, man, I'm chunky, I'm undisciplined, I'm lazy. Like, I knew these things about me that ate at myself, and I was like, if I join the military, it'll really help those things about me. And so I started entertaining the idea. Well, also, I started to get involved with Elevate. And so joining the military was the first major life decision that I ever prayed about for myself.
That's cool. Because
my parents would always harp me on that, but there's a difference between like them harping and then you actually doing it. Mm-hmm. And so I prayed about it, and it's the one and only time in my life that honestly God spoke to me through a dream. I had a dream one night, and I remember looking down and seeing myself in uniform, and it was different than just like, oh yeah, I had a dream, I thought that up. Like, I felt the impression. Ooh. Like it was deep, and I was like, ugh. So I remember waking up and was like, that settles it. So started meeting with the recruiter and looking at different jobs, and he had reserve slots, and I liked that idea because I went into the reserves, but I liked the idea of like, okay, go and do all this training, still have a normal life, because I was like, I like being social and a civilian and living here. So I was like, I can do that. I can go to DBU. I can still do drill on the weekends. I was like, this will be a good setup. So, and he was like, your base would be right over here in Fort Worth. I can get you a job going in as a helicopter mechanic. That translates to something you can do in the civilian realm afterwards. Yeah. At the time, it came with a nice signing bonus. He's like, you get $15,000. He didn't tell me how much Uncle Sam was gonna put his sticky fingers up in there. I was like, my goodness. Or how they just formulate all that. It's like, well, it's gonna be insane. This 1 year and this the next and this the next, and we're gonna really tax all of it. But I mean, I'm not complaining. It was great. Yeah.
But when that reality first comes in, you're like,
you're like, wait a second.
Where'd all that money go?
You're only gonna give me half now, and then you're gonna take like 30% of it? Get out of here. Yeah. So again, it was praying about it that I really feel like solidified it. And so I moved forward, and and joined, and I left for basic like 10 days after I graduated high school.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was like, all right, graduation, okay, goodbye, which was actually probably really good for me. I probably would have sowed some more wild oats and done stupid things. So for me to leave before that summer of high school where it's like everyone's still hanging around was really good. So
Yeah, smart move.
Yeah. Fort Jackson, South Carolina, boom.
Yeah.
Went right out there.
So how many years did you serve in the Army?
So 6 years reserves, 1 tour over. So it's like a part-time gig.
Yeah.
And then even our rotation was 10 months in like northern Kuwait, like right on the Iraq border.
Yeah,
Camp Buring
Yep.
is a tiny little airstrip armpit of a base. But yeah, we were up on Camp Buring so we did 2 months at Hood, 10 months over.
Yeah.
So not a bad setup.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so you go to your training. Anything funny from training that you just like, or a story that you just kind of think about? And the reserve units, it's an incredible thing.
Yeah.
Because if somebody wants to serve, they want to serve their nation, but they're like, man, I don't want to go full active duty. And there's nothing wrong with that, obviously. It's like, hey, you want your normal job, your normal life, but you still want to serve. The National Guard is a phenomenal option.
100%.
It's amazing.
And it's cool to hear people like you say that, because I remember the first time that I told an active duty guy that I was joining the reserves, and he's like, oh, weekend warrior. And so honestly,
I'm sure that guy probably did nothing up to that point in his career. He probably hadn't done anything.
No. And
Just
so,
assuming.
yeah. And so there was almost like this weird stigma, and maybe I just let it, weigh on me too much. It was like, what we do is a lot less than. Like, your one deployment wasn't a combat zone. It was. So for years, honestly, for me, I was almost like not proud of any of my service, because I felt like it was so much less than. And then I don't know where it flipped, but it's just like, man, I think it's just getting better perspective from people. Different guys at the church even that I've talked to, that I was like, no, man, every little piece, like
service is service.
Part, yeah.
Here's the deal. If your unit would not have been doing what they were doing over there, would it have had a negative impact?
100%.
Okay, there we go. That's all you need to know, and anybody else needs to know that wants to judge National Guard. By the way, if you've listened to this podcast at all, or Jocko's podcast, you know the love we have for National Guard units.
Yeah.
When we showed up to Ramadi, the 228 that was there, they were a National Guard unit out of Pennsylvania.
That's awesome.
National Guard unit in Ramadi, which could have been you guys if there was something big going on. They don't like, oh, well, these guys are national. No, it's like needs of the military.
Yeah.
So the 228 went to Ramadi, and when we showed up, they had been in combat every single day
crazy.
For 14 months straight.
That's crazy.
And so there's no guarantee for what you will and will not do. I know SEALs that did 20 years active in the SEALs that never fired their weapon in combat.
Wow.
Just because of just the luck of the draw, deployments.
Yeah.
And so you have guys that wanted to be gunfighters, and there's National Guard soldiers that have more combat experience than some of the SEAL teams combined. So there's that aspect.
That's pretty cool perspective.
Yeah.
And it took me a while. And hindsight, it helped. So we were over from 14 to 15, and we were Aviation Support Battalion. So they would attach.
That's awesome.
They attached us to 2 different units. It was one out of Germany on the front end, and then another one out of Fort Bliss out in El Paso on the back end. So like one of my favorite movies is Sicario, and when they're driving down the flight line.
Never seen it.
What?
It's another one. It's another one. It's on my list.
When people ask me what my favorite movie is, it's Sicario.
Really?
Like, and it and I'm not like a pick a favorite movie dude. Sicario is my favorite movie. It's so good.
Remind me when we're not being recorded. I have something to share with you.
All right, cool, sweet. So driving down the flight line, you see all the Apaches are lined up out there. I'm like, I guarantee you I've worked on one of those Apaches.
Yeah.
Because we were attached to that unit.
Yep.
And we helped them move all of their birds in and out of country. So the blade folding, and you take the horizontal stabulator and you stack them 2 by 2 in the back of those big I forgot what they were, C-14, C-17s, one of the massive.
The C-5s.
C-5s, probably.
C-5s, yeah, those
Lots
are
of
the
Cs.
large ones. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we would pack them
C-5s,
in there.
C-17s are the big transports.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So we would help them move in and out of country, but then when we would do a lot of the maintenance. So what was cool is us being so close to the northern border in Iraq. We would when birds needed bigger, heavier maintenance or phase work, they would fly them down to us, and we would do the bigger maintenance, and they'd fly back into Iraq.
So
and
cool.
they could do more of the spot maintenance, lower phases. And so that was kind of cool, having direct impact, because that was basically the front end of OIR, Inherent Resolve, when we went back into Iraq.
Yep.
In that 13, 14 time frame. So pretty cool. Knowing that helped, because otherwise it's just like, okay, we're just living in the desert.
Here's the deal. To any veteran and service member that's listening, you committed your life to serve this nation. You made that commitment. That is something you should be proud of. Now, unless you avoid combat on purpose, I have a different feeling towards that. If you avoid combat, I do not align with that. I feel strongly against that.
Imagine.
But that's my personal feelings. But if you haven't done that and you served in the military and you didn't get to go see war, you didn't get to go do whatever, it does not mean that your service is any less than anybody else's. Your service, Ethan, is the same as mine. It is when you look at
like
it.
Such a stretch.
No. When you look at it from a standpoint of like you went in and said, "Hey, I want to serve my country.
Yeah.
I'm making this commitment. I'm swearing an oath to my nation to go do this job." Something major could have kicked off when you were transferring to the unit, and they were going to be like, "Hey, Ethan, we're now deploying to the worst area in the world for the next 18 months." You would have said, "Roger that."
Yeah.
You would have said, "Roger that."
Yeah.
That's why I say what I say. Mine was different. I joined in the SEAL teams hoping for combat.
Yeah, because weren't you in basic when 9/11 hit?
I was in boot camp when 9/11 hit.
Oh, man.
And I had already joined to become a SEAL. I had that SEAL contract. 9/11 hits, and I'm like, oh, this is real. This is really going to be different. And it's what I wanted. So whether you wanted that or not, you knew that it was a possibility. You joined when things had already been going on. And that's the other thing is like when I talk to people who were in the military, like, I didn't do much. It wasn't the same as you. I'm like, that's not fair for you to say.
Yeah,
especially
that makes sense.
anybody that joined on September 12th, 2001 and after, you knew what you were getting into.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And
Great
you knew
point.
the possibilities. So for me, I have even more respect for anybody that joined after 9/11, knowing there's a very real risk. Mine was, hey, I think we have hidden wars going on around the world, and Navy SEALs are a part of it, which isn't true. But I was like hoping and praying for that I get to go do all these cool secret missions, like from the movie Navy SEAls with Charlie Sheen. I was like, man. I think that's got to be real, right? That's what I was hoping for. But so, anyways, that's awesome, man. Appreciate your service.
Yeah, well, I
and then
appreciate that.
You do your time. Any like funny stories? I interrupted you.
Yeah. So, I mean,
that you want to share?
A lot of them. Just how much of a shock it was, like getting, because I had no clue what to expect, and really my recruiter didn't prepare me at all. Like it was.
Most don't.
It was
imagine.
Bad. So like I barely knew my phonetic alphabet. I kind of knew 24-hour time. I didn't know left or right face. Like I went in so green that I was like, oh crap, I got to learn pretty quick. But so you go through your kind of reception, and I thought that basic had already started. I didn't even realize it was reception, then you go into basic. And so actually back up before that, I had put because I remember I was heavy, and my recruiter was like, man, you're right on the line. And so between when I saw him in like March and then between when June rolled around, I'm supposed to roll out, I had just been eating everything in sight, knowing like, well, I'm about to go off to basic and get all thin.
So
like
instead
woo!
of trying to get prepared for basic, you did the counter opposite.
I think I ran like twice, and I was like, "Ow, you know what?
They'll teach me how to
Yeah,
run.
they'll teach you." That's it. That was literally my mindset. I was like, I haven't ran a mile since like 7th grade. I'll figure it out. So hope is is a good thing, but a terrible strategy. And so I was just very hopeful and just green and just like woohoo. So I had put on some weight. My recruiter was like, "You're not gonna make tape. They're not gonna let you go tomorrow." The night before we go to MEPS, they put you in like a crappy hotel around the corner.
Yeah.
And so it's the Crown Plaza. I still get shivers when I drive by it over in Dallas. And my recruiter hands me a bottle of X-Lax, and he's like, "Drink this, and you're gonna live on the toilet for a while. But if you don't do this, you're not gonna make tape." I drank the bottle of X-Lax, and I,
That's horrible.
cleared, God knows what out of my body via the anus for hours on the throne.
Oh my God.
I went in, I did the tape and the measurement, and I'm convinced it was a God thing. I was still barely over what was acceptable. And I remember the doctor was like, he's like, "Man, you're just overweight." He's like, I'm going to, because they for years it was like essentially the Vietnam era of how they would calculate BMI. Oh, we're gonna
So
tape your
stupid.
neck, we're
So
gonna tape your
stupid.
weight, and then we're gonna factor in height and weight.
Which is so idiotic.
Oh, so much so. And so he like added a ½ inch to my neck and was like, "You're about to lose a lot of weight anyways."
Yeah.
So I barely make it to basic. Then I get to basic, again, heavy. We go through reception. I'm like, okay. And then they send us over. I was like, okay, now basic is starting. And we get there, and actually the female drill sergeants were like the hardest to work with. This one, she's short, Hispanic female, Drill Sergeant Morales. She was great. She got in my face day one, and I'm just standing at parade rest and like looking at the wall behind her, because they had been like, I was raised, eye contact, yes ma'am, no ma'am, yes sir, no sir, and all of that goes out the window as soon as you get to basic. And so I'm staring at the wall behind her, and she was like, "May," she's like, "You're a chubby Oompa Loompa mother effer," right to my face. And I was like, I don't know if I laugh or cry right now. So I just stared at the wall behind her. She goes, "I'm going to make you look like you went through a concentration camp." And she walks off. And 2010, this was okay to say.
Oh yeah, 100%.
2010 was also before they repealed Don't Ask, Don't Tell. So all of the slurs and jokes that they would make about.
Oh, dude.
Oh, which
Yep.
I mean, you know, that was, I mean,
Bro, I was in boot camp before 9/11, man. And then 9/11 hits, and everyone's like, "Oh, we're all going to war." So I'm telling you, like, that mindset shift, it was drastic in our
Yes.
RDCs, recruit drill commanders.
I don't
remember
doubt it.
my RDCs; they were phenomenal humans. But dude, some of the things they would say to guys, I'm just like chuckling. I never took any of it. I thought it was like the funniest thing ever. But they would say stuff to other guys, and you just see guys crying, and I'm like, what is happening right now? Chunky monkey.
she rode my case for a little while. Yeah. Then one of our drill sergeants got removed. He was like a former infantry dude. He was hardcore. He had like thrown a kid off of a bunk, and so they're like, "Okay, you can't be here." So they move him out. Our first sergeant was like one of the tallest, beefiest black dudes I've ever met in my life, who was a former Ranger instructor.
Oh, jeez.
And
Major Pain.
Basically, he was so quiet and so scary. And then our commanding officer, our XO, was this like soft, just kind of like soft-spoken white dude.
That's why he had that. There's a reason why there's that pair.
It was funny, but then my main drill sergeant from my platoon, real short dude, had just gotten rolled back and put as a drill sergeant because he broke his leg in Ranger Qual. but he was a sniper, had multiple deployments. He had a coin from old G-Dub Bush.
Oh, wow.
And like
He's an OG guy.
yeah, and he wouldn't tell us what he did. He's like, I just did some secret squirrel stuff, and the president said thank you.
That's cool.
I was like, all right. He was a cool guy, Drill Sergeant Agan. But so one of the drill sergeants from the other platoon throws a kid off a bunk, gets moved. So they shuffle some of the drill sergeants, and the meanest one was this short Drill Sergeant Ziegler, and she was like Drill Sergeant Morales, who I originally had, spicy female. Now I get the one who I remember thinking, like in the shark attack, like day one, I was like, so glad I don't have her, because the things she was saying and the way she was treating people, I was like, dear God. She shuffles into our platoon, and she singles me out like day one, and she's like, because everyone in the military, everyone has their title and their last name, and that's what you call them. Private May, Drill Sergeant so-and-so. She would do mail call and saw that my first name was Ethan. And for whatever reason, she was like, Ethan May. So she wouldn't call me Private May. She started calling me Ethan May. She's like, that's the gayest name I've ever heard. And so she said this for months, but I'm like, what? That doesn't even make sense. So she singled me out, but we actually kind of like formulated this friendship, and she would we'd be out in the field training, and she'd be like asking me questions about my life. She'd be like, where are you from? I'm like, Texas. She's like, what's your daddy do? I'm like, he's a pastor. She's like, oh yeah, you one of those homos that raises their hands in church? I'm like, yes, I mean, if the song is right, I do that sometimes. I'm just being unfiltered, because this is literally stuff that she said. I'm probably dial it down even a little bit.
Well, yeah.
But then she'd be like, you like country music? And I didn't growing up. So she'd be like, sing me some George Strait. And so I would try my best. I got friends in low places, or whatever.
Which is Garth Brooks.
Yeah, exactly. As soon as I said that, I was like, that's not right. It shows you how little I listen to. Please don't kill me. But she would sing the song. I did get her to come to chapel with me once.
Wow.
She showed up very hungover.
Great place to be.
Yeah, right? Exactly. So I really tried, it was weird. We kind of formulated this friend, and she heard someone else, one other guy in the platoon was trying to mess with me, and she popped her head out from the office one time. She's like, hey, the only person that messes with Ethan May is me. If you do anything else, I'll screw your life up. And so I was like, all right, cool. She's got my back. So very interesting. So on parent day, on graduation day, my parents come to pick me up, and she knows my whole family at this point. So my dad was parking the car. My parents walk up, and so it's like dad, brother, sister. I'm sorry, mom, brother, sister. And she's like, where's Lance? That's my dad's name. My mom was like, wide-eyed. She's like, he's parking the car. So my dad walks up. She's like, you got a really great kid. That's and cool. A really good soldier. Yeah. He's phenomenal. And I was like, that's the first nice thing she had said.
I thought you hated me.
I was like, I thought you just thought I was a little homo. Thank you.
You just said I was a chubby little altar boy. What are you doing?
I was a chunky oompa oompa. So that was, basic was interesting. AIT was boring. Fort Eustis, tiny little, Army Air Base. That's a joint base with Langley across the bay from, what's the Navy's biggest base out in Virginia? I'm drawing a blank. Norfolk, yeah. So it's across the bay from Norfolk. So AIT was boring. They kind of teach you how to do your job. So I was an Apache maintainer, and so it was cool aircraft mechanics. I'd never done anything mechanical in my life, so that was brand new. So AIT was cool, and then go back to our unit. I actually missed our unit. Rolled through Iraq in I want to say very end of 2010, maybe January of 2011. They left to do, to train at Fort Hood before they went over, and I missed our unit going to Iraq by a month when I first got there. So that was interesting, being part of Rear D, then them coming back, because like I said, we didn't go to Kuwait until 14. Wow. So interesting, but and I'm very 18-year-old Ethan. I don't think they're I needed the military. Yeah. I needed the discipline. The biggest thing for me was I didn't realize I had zero mental strength. So that was one of the biggest like light bulb moments for me in basic, because you hear some people say like, oh yeah, basic was super easy. And I'm sure if I would have known my stuff and been in shape and, you know, at least went for a jog and you know, not been an Oompa Loompa, that basic probably would have been easy. It was actually like pretty hard for me.
Yeah, I mean, if you don't show up, I mean, when people say it was easy, it's funny they say that. You know, I've said that, but in reality, there was a lot of hard days in basic training.
Oh, 100%.
It doesn't matter what branch you're going into. They're going to push you physically and mentally.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who you are. It's usually when we say it like afterwards, when you're done, like, oh, that wasn't that bad. You're like, okay, well, yeah, because you're done.
Exactly.
Like, but during some of those days and nights, you're like, it wasn't that easy.
No.
And so you just added to the compound effect of that of like, I'm not in shape and I don't know these things. And,
Exactly.
you know, I was infatuated with the military growing up and the SEAL teams. And so when I signed that summer, I picked a date that allowed me to spend the whole summer training, preparing, and, you know, and preparing for buds. And so even with all that, you know, working every single day, construction in the summer for my dad, and then going and doing runs and swims, you know, swimming in the river. I know we've talked about what I used to do to prepare. Like, for me, physically, I was well prepared for boot camp. So that aspect, yes, I was prepared, but it didn't mean that there was easy days.
Yeah.
It was easier than it could have been. And then buds, or then A school and then buds was, that's just going to be difficult.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. So it was really tough for me, but essentially learning, I can do hard things that I set my mind to.
Yes.
That mental hurdle for me at 18 was massive, and it really helped. Like I remember we were on like a night ruck, yada yada, and it was like, man, I can do hard things that I put my mind to, and that really served me well. But even some of the discipline. I function pretty well. Discipline, structure really helped. And even some of like, I took my signing bonus and put it in a Roth IRA at 19 because my mom's dad was like, E. He always called me E. He was like, E. He's an investment banker. You ought to put some of that in a Roth IRA. And so I had no clue what
does he talk like that?
I don't know. That is just Herbert Hutchins for you. That is my grandpa. And but I'm glad, you know, like little things like that. Then I used tuition assistance to go through Tarrant County College and get, you know, kind of my associates in basics. I used tuition assistance to go to Bible college, and then I used the GI Bill to finish my undergrad at UNT here. So we used a VA loan to get a house,
which is one of the best things out there.
Oh, 100%. And then, you know, even some of the long-term stuff that, you know, the VA does, it's, you know, it's just been helpful. So I'm so glad 18-year-old me really I needed to grow up. Yeah. And I was such a like mama's boy, homebody that it was great. And even more than that, while I was in basic, my family moved away. So my family moves up to Tulsa. My dad goes to work for Oral Roberts University pretty briefly, actually. They were only up there for like 9 months, and then they moved out to Florida, and he took another like pastor job out there. But so when I came back home, like none of my family was here. And so that was a whole nother monkey with like, okay, stand on your own 2 feet. Use some of that mental fortitude. That's awesome.
So what was your transition from that into ministry? So you're back. Yeah. I mean, are you staying connected with Elevate? You're still leading? Like, What are you doing?
So my unit is here. So I'm driving in I moved up to Tulsa to live with my brother, essentially to get my life together. Okay. I wasn't really going to church. I was dating a girl that I knew I wasn't going to marry. I'm just hanging out with the wrong friends. Like, decent guys, but we're like, they're, you know, smoking pot and drinking, and I'm like, I know that I'm like, this isn't satisfying. Like, I'm not fulfilled. And so I had this moment where I was like, I don't like the fruit of my life right now. There is no fruit. And so my brother had moved to Tulsa, and pretty much my brother was like real crazy. Then he went to some random ministry school in East Texas, then ends up in Tulsa. and is like on fire for God, to where I'm like, he's a different human. Like, got his life together. He's like, when we'd go and see my parents in Florida at the same time where they were living, he's like praying for me and like speaking life over me. And this is not him at the slightest. And I was like, what he has is real. And he, for months, was like, come live with me in Tulsa. Come live with me in Tulsa. And I didn't even realize, but I know hindsight looking back, like the Holy Spirit was drawing me. So I ended up moving to Tulsa knowing I'm going to leave all my friends here. I'm going to break up with this girl that I know I'm not going to marry. And I'm going to really like sell out for God. Because there's a difference between like, oh yeah, like I know that Jesus is my Savior, but then like, boom, he's Lord of every day. Ooh. Like that there's a mass, knowing that Jesus is my Savior, and then knowing, no, he's Lord of every single day. He's Lord of every area of my life. That step of lordship is massive. And I also knew my mom would quote that verse out of Revelation, you're either hot or you're cold. If you're lukewarm, I'll spit you out.
Yeah, Revelation 3 talking about
yes.
Yeah.
My mom would quote that verse growing up. And so I knew, I was like, I'm so lukewarm. I'm not sold out. I'm not living for God. He's not every area of my life, which my parents did such a good job modeling growing up.
Yeah.
They missed it in a lot of ways, as all parents do.
Yeah.
I mean, like, join the club. But they modeled that incredibly well. When I would get up early, I would see them drinking coffee, reading their Bibles. Didn't matter what day it was. Yeah. And I'm thankful that they modeled that. I'm thankful that my mom always harped us on the importance of, like, staying close to Jesus. And so I moved to Tulsa and essentially started like what became like 3 years of like, okay, get your life together, sell out for Jesus. Mm-hmm. Had a couple of roommates that had a big impact on my life. In fact, the guy who's still the head soccer coach at Oral Roberts University was just a guy I went to church with and did a men's Bible study with. Big impact on my life. My brother's impact on my life during that time, amazing. And so I moved to Tulsa. I thought I was going to go to ORU, Oral Roberts University up there, and everything like fell through between like they wouldn't let me live off campus, and I was like, well, I got this Army stuff going on, and was already in a lease for an apartment. They wouldn't. I didn't get the scholarship that I thought I was going to, so that all kind of fell apart. Ended up going to a random Bible college on the other side of Tulsa, and so did a year there. It's a 2-year program. Then I get my orders, and they're like, hey, you're going to Kuwait. You need to be here by this day. We're going to train at Fort Hood. Then we're going to go over. So after 1 year Bible college, I throw all my stuff in storage unit. I come here, and before we go to Fort Hood, I'm just going to Milestone, and Pastor Blake, who still leads worship with us, amazing,
he's phenomenal.
Yeah, he's got the pipes of an angel.
That's Mike Mitchell's man crush for vocals.
Rightfully so. So, man, I love Mike Mitchell. Yeah. So, Pastor Blake just invites me to dinner, and so I remember we have a picture of us outside of Mi Cocina, and I'm like in uniform because I like came straight from being like on duty and us doing whatever here before we went to Fort Hood. Go see Pastor Blake, and just like
don't lie, you're trying to get the Applebee's discount.
Yeah, that was it. Like, hey man,
hey man, thank me for my service.
Hey, you're welcome for my service. Yeah, so no, totally. So we go eat, and Pastor Blake was like one of the people that always just felt like family. So then fast forward, we're deployed. Tristan and I had reconnected at this point because we met in Elevate in 2009. Yeah. Wow. We met at Elevate through mutual friends who were dating because she went to Castleberry High School, like north side of Fort Worth, closer to the JRB, the Joint Reserve Base down there. And so smaller, 3A high school. She's half Hispanic. It's a very Hispanic area. And so we met through mutual friends who were dating. And she automatically became like the standard of woman. Because my mom was always so hard on us. And with Tristan, I remember one of the first things that really drew me to her was she had her Bible with her. And my exact thoughts were, man, that thing looks like it's been hit by a lawnmower. It was beat to pieces. There was markings all in it, highlights, sticky notes. And I was like, that girl been in that thing. And I was like, whoa. And it was attractive, though, because I was like, man, my mom always harped us on. I was like, this girl's real. She grew up with 4 older brothers. So it was like, we had the mutual friends. But then I remember us immediately connect. Like she was laughing at like all my jokes and my Chris Farley impressions, and she knew who Chris Farley was. And I was like, "Thank you for knowing good comedy." And then we talked about football, and she like knew what she was talking about. And I was like,
"This is a unicorn."
Exactly. I was like, I have found my unicorn. So literally, I was like smitten.
Like, so what's your thoughts on eloping?
Yeah.
Asking randomly for some random person.
Out there. So I was 17, she was 16, she was a grade younger than me. And she had a boyfriend at the time. So I just befriended her on Facebook, and then I don't remember how long it was, a couple months later, it's no longer in a relationship. So I just DM'd her and I was like, hey, can I start stalking you now? And she was like, okay. So we spark up this friendship. Did you really say that? Yes. Something along those lines.
No, that's amazing.
Here's the long and short of it. I essentially tried to get her to date me for the next 7 years, and it never quite worked. Like, I was in the Army, then I'm back here, then she had a boyfriend, but then I had a girlfriend, but then she moved to Louisiana to do this ministry school and work at this church, and then she went to UL Lafayette to finish undergrad, and then I'm deployed. But I saw her at the same time I saw Pastor Blake. She was in town, we reconnected, and I was like, oh, I forgot like why she is like the standard of woman. So I'm smitten with her. I have this reconnect with Pastor Blake, and then while we're deployed, Tristan and I are just talking a lot. We get serious once I get back, which was awesome, and then proceed to do 2 years of long distance. But while I was deployed, Pastor Tyron sent me a Facebook message. He's like, "Hey man, you ever thinking about coming back here?" And I was like, yeah, because I pretty much knew after I finished Bible college, I wanted to end up in Fort Worth because I wanted to marry Tristan, and I wanted to be a part of Milestone because spiritual family was so different. Right? Like, I'd been to church, I'd been in church my whole life. I had experienced big church, small church, everything in between, but church that felt highly relational and familial was like what my soul was like longing for, what I always wanted, and I didn't even know that's what I wanted. Because I was always very family oriented, and I didn't think that feel could cross wires with church. I always thought church was kind of like, it's secluded, like you just kind of show up and do church on Sundays. I was like, oh no, this is like family. Amazing to me. So I knew Milestone was kind of like, man, that's where I want to be with spiritual family. And then with Tristan, it was like, that's the woman I want to be with. And so I reconnect with Pastor Tyron. I do like a summer internship right when I get home from deployment. So like Pastor Jesse's not here yet. Pastor Ryan's not here yet. Pastor T is still over our youth group.
That's crazy.
So I spend the whole summer, because T's gone a lot, I spend the whole summer just hanging out with Luke Newby. Awesome. And so that's when Pastor Luke became like my best friend in the world.
That makes sense.
Like, I don't think that there's probably a single human on planet Earth, like outside of my brother and kind of what he helped me through initially moving to Tulsa, that's had like a bigger impact on my life. And so, I love Pastor Luke. But got to hang out that summer with Luke, which was super cool. And do a lot of stuff with Milestone and with youth. And I remember while we were doing it, I was like, man, I really like the high school side of things. I do not like the middle school side of things. And so I remember thinking that, so I finished my internship. I go back to Tulsa because I knew if God called me to this Bible college, because I could have probably just stayed here and made it work. But I'm like, God always calls us to finish the things that we start. Yeah. You know, like as Philippians 1:6 says that he completes every good work that he starts. Why would it be any different with us? If he's going to call us to something, why wouldn't he walk us through to completion? To me, that just feels like so much more of God's nature and heart. And so I was like, I'm going to go home. I'm going to move back to Tulsa, even though it doesn't really make sense. I'm going to live in this crappy apartment, and I'm going to finish Bible college. So I go up there, and I do that, and then I move back here summer of 2016.
Okay. And during this time, the relationship with your wife is getting a little more serious? Like, what's your guys' conversations like?
Once we got home, it was serious. And she knew. I told her when we were 18, I was like, I want to marry you. And that freaked her out. Because between, like, mom and grandma, there's been, like, 7, 8, 9 husbands. Grandma would use verbiage growing up like, you don't ever trust a man because they're just going to walk out. Yeah.
And mom.
No. So she had...
I was so confused.
No.
Like, wait, hold on.
Yeah, so she was freaked out when I was like, I want to marry you. And she's like, you're a psychopath. But remember, my parents got married at like 18. I just thought that's what you did.
Same. My parents met when they were young. They eloped a few months later.
Yep.
Had me, and I was like, oh, that's just
what you do.
That's what you do.
Exactly.
Not
No.
so much.
Nope. Pump the brakes. So, Tristan and I, we get serious when I get home. And we had one kind of like breakup. Well, I was still in Tulsa, but we were serious. In fact, once I got home from deployment, Tristan and I come back. Milestone's still in the old building, and we go to a series. We go to church together like the weekend I get back, and it's a marital series. Pastor Jeff and Brandy talking, and it just like hit us right where we were at. And then Pastor T and Betsy were like, "Do y'all want to go to dinner afterwards?" So we go to Mi Casino again, whatever, and we're sitting and we're getting through dinner, and you know how Pastor Tyron is. He's like, "So y'all gonna get married or what?" I was like, "Well, yes, actually." So that was cool. We kind of took on the intention of like, hey, like
if we're gonna date, we're gonna date to.
We're dating. Married. Yes, we're dating to get married. And then I actually flew to Lafayette because she was part of a church that like Milestone's pretty. Has a great relationship with, and flew down there and met the family she was living with, all of her pastors, because they're like, who's this joker?
Yeah.
So I remember meeting Pastor Jacob Aranza, who's over Our Savior's Church where she was at, and I was like, no, I'm a part of Milestone. He's like, oh, man of God, you one of us. Like, and I was like, all right, cool, I'm in. So it's cool, yeah. So we stayed serious. Dated long distance so she could finish her undergrad at Louisiana Lafayette.
That's cool.
And then she actually randomly the summer before her senior year she got an internship with the U.S. Embassy in Nepal. So she lived in Kathmandu, Nepal, and worked for the U.S. Embassy for the consulate over there, because she thought that's what she wanted to do, and she thought she wanted to go to law school and do that. So she lived in Kathmandu and worked for. She's like, I think it's God in His goodness let me do it to show me this. What I have for you is better.
That's awesome.
Wow. So that's the way she tells the story, which is pretty cool. So we did long distance, and then she moved back here after undergrad 2017, and we got married. And then I think she took like a 2-month break, but as soon as she moved back, she went to work for Milestone. She connected with Pastor Luke's wife, Sam, who, is essentially like our CFO, amazing. She had connected with Sam, and Sam hired her to just be like a business office associate. So she went to work for Milestone right off the bat. Talk about like defining moment for me as an adult. I remember having one conversation with Pastor Jed, because I'd moved back and I was like, what am I going to do with my life? Well, I had been talking with Brian Culver, and he was gonna hire me on to go work at BAE to work on like technical writing, different stuff. I forgot even what all it entailed for the F-35.
Yeah.
And so I thought I was going to go work for BAE, doing something aviation related, make really good money. And I was driving, and I still remember I was driving by 377, on 377, by 170, the QT, and just remember having this thought of like, because Pastor Tyron and Pastor Chris Larimer had asked me, hey, we're going to start this 5th and 6th grade ministry. Would you have any interest in running it? And I was like, I don't need like middle school. Why on earth would I do 5th and 6th grade? And I'm driving on 377, and I remember like having the thought of, man, well, kids has always come naturally to me. And I just remember the Lord saying in that moment, like, I wired you that way. Like, there's a need in the house that I've placed you in, and you're gifted and designed to meet it. And that's a picture of how my kingdom works. And boom, dude, that marked me. And I felt super convicted. And so I just said yes. So I have one conversation with Pastor Jed. I was like, I feel called to be a pastor. I feel called to be here. He's like, cool, go finish your undergrad. I was like, I hate school. You want me to go to school? So I was like, ugh. I was like, should I just, go to a Christian college on the road and do like biblical studies or something? And he's like, no. He's like, go get like a practical degree so you're not pigeonholed if you end up don't doing ministry. I was like, okay. So I just...
That's wise.
Yeah, it really was.
That's really cool for him to be able to give that just neutral advice and guidance.
It really was.
Because he, from his standpoint, being one of the... Was he a senior pastor at the time? Or
no, he's our lead teaching pastor.
Lead teaching pastor. Yeah. In my mind, he's a senior pastor.
He's
in
amazing.
My brain. Like the way
he's amazing.
In my mind, he's a senior
he is.
individual at Milestone. But the lead teaching pastor, so brilliant. I love Pastor Jay.
He's amazing.
When he preaches, that's a cool thing. Is just like everybody at Milestone. It doesn't matter who it is. It's going to be a great message.
It's because Pastor Jed helps everyone with their messages.
Yeah.
He's phenomenal. He's such a good teacher.
But I think it's cool that he was able to give that just neutral, unbiased guidance to you. Because from his standpoint, or from his position, it could have been easy for him to get sucked into like, no, this is the degree that you should get, so that it locks you into
100%. And
he knew that wasn't the right thing. That's cool.
Yeah. So I go back to school to finish my undergrad, and I'm working newly married, working at Chick-fil-A. Was just like, man, I need a job. So I was an assistant manager at a Chick-fil-A in Keller.
Awesome.
Commuting to UNT to finish my undergrad, and then running 56, our 5th and 6th grade ministry on the weekends as a volunteer.
Cool.
And it was a crazy season hindsight, looking back, but learned a lot, grew a lot. And then so I worked for Chick-fil-A for a year and a half, and then it became a full-time job. So this summer, I think, was 6 years on staff for me.
Wow.
So I did 5 years overseeing our 5th and 6th grade. And then a year ago yesterday, I moved into, we restructured, so there's no longer 5th and 6th grade, it's 4th and 5th grade. And then we moved 6th grade up, and it's 6th, 7th, and 8th grade.
Yeah.
And then we have, middle school service, high school service. We split it out. So I moved up to take over our middle school a year ago yesterday.
Which is comical because I remember when that happened. We talked about it, but it's comical because you had said like, I don't like junior hires. And God's like, cool, keep saying that. One of the things you were saying earlier was you just remind me of what Lucas has here at his church, and I think it's a great example for life. And if anybody's listening, and if you're involved in ministry, especially ministry, but just life in general in a leadership position, it's developing a culture, right? And that's what you're talking about with what Milestone had, that they had that culture and that community, the fellowship. That's what people want.
Yes.
That's what people need.
Yes.
And I know, Lucas, you've done a great job doing that here at this church. And recently there were some storms that rolled in, and a lot of members of their church in this community here in Lake Dallas were without power, and they had trees that were down that needed to be cut up, and there's some issues with the city, I think. And him and I were just talking about it, and then he put it out in a group text to the Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu guys, like, hey, we're going to be meeting at this time. This is what we're going to go do. And Ian Hamilton, who, he's been on the podcast. I think you met him when he came to Milestone a few times with us. He was in town, and I was like, hey, man, we're going to go, just crank out some chainsaw work. And he was like, all right, cool. And it was cool. I was coming and meeting them here and then just rallying, and it was just cool to see, like the community that you have going out there and like, hey, we're just going to go do some manual labor together. That's and awesome. Everyone was joyful, and they're praying over the residents and the neighbors. And it was just, it's incredible. And that's what churches need. They need to develop a community.
Yeah.
There needs to be that culture of just, hey, we are the church. We are a family.
Yeah.
And we take care of each other.
Well, and I think that's such a, I think you grow up having a little bit more view of like a Western church, which is like, I'm going to go sit in a lesson and I'm going to learn some knowledge. But a lot more of the Eastern approach would be like it's holistic, which the Bible is an Eastern book. It's like it's holistic, it's familial, it's all it's all encompassing. So the thought of you get a family out of this, but then it's not just sitting in a quote unquote classroom on Sundays. It's you go and be the hands and feet of Jesus, and you do it with your family amidst. Like it's a really cool model, and just the whole thought of missiology. How do you serve the demographic that you've been placed in? How do you, the book of Proverbs says, know the state of your flock. Like that's a pretty crazy thought. Shepherds should smell like sheep. A lot of that all kind of like goes together, and so you make a big impact when you go out and you just love on the community. Yeah. Like it's amazing when you just go and be the hands and feet of Jesus. What did Jesus say? Like, this is how others will know you are my disciples, by how you love one another, not by like what you say or how much theology you know or how you teach on Sundays. He's like, how you love one another. Like, so I don't know. Big deal. Big deal.
You mean making a social media post about you getting to sit in front row at your church? I'm sorry.
I do that every week. It's fine.
Sorry, that drives me crazy. Yeah. You're like,
social media church is cute, but it's formless.
I'm sorry. I should not have opened that door. That was I was actually wrong. That was wrong of me. I apologize. Okay,
we're all on the same team.
What book do you recommend outside the Bible?
Man, yeah.
What's had an impact on you?
Yeah. So probably the past 3 years, I've tried to get a lot more into reading. So I try to do about 50 books a year, between physical and audio. So I do a lot of audiobooks, and some people are like, that doesn't count. That's not really reading.
It definitely counts.
100%. Yeah. I would say
those are just low capacity people trying to bring you down.
Exactly. Yep. And I'm such an auditory learner. I retain more that way.
Yeah. Right? Like Pastor Jeff told you, it's the way God designed you.
Yeah, it is 100%. He's like, God gave you he prayed it over me one time.
Can you please tell the story?
Yeah.
When you told me that story in my driveway after we went and trained Jiu-Jitsu.
Yes.
It had such an impact on me, and I really was hoping that it would come up in this podcast somehow.
So growing up as like a super ADD kid, really hard time focusing, because literally like it was like I couldn't focus because I would just get distracted. And so I always felt like there was something wrong with me. I was a nuisance in the classroom. I was a nuisance to authority. Like that's honestly what I believed about myself growing up. So Pastor Jeff prayed over me that same summer that I interned at the church. So I guess summer of 2015. And he prays over me and he says, the Lord has like uniquely gifted and wired you. You have a very fast and active mind. And he made you that way for a reason, to think down multiple avenues and to see multiple outcomes, and I forgot what else he said to go with it, but it was so impactful to me because it was almost like this light bulb, even like identity moment where I was like, oh, my brain is and how I'm wired is not a problem. God designed me that way for a reason, because if He is all powerful, all God, He doesn't make mistakes, and He's all good, then the thought of He didn't make a single mistake when He created me, down to even the things in my life that I see as flaws, like that really started to mess with me. But it was such a cool moment of like, oh, I am smart. Maybe I am smarter than I've ever given myself a credit for. So it was a cool like kind of identity moment for me, like, so yeah, I'm auditory learner through and through. I would say I try to reread 2 books every year, and I read A to Z. I like fantasy fiction. I read a ton of history, but I really go A to Z. But there's 2 books I try to reread every year. One of them is Spiritual Leadership by J. Oswald Sanders. I almost said Chambers. J. Oswald Sanders. Mm-hmm. One of my like favorite books of all times. And not just for the sake of being in ministry, but just the practicals and the challenges that are in there, amazing. So that's one I try to reread every year because it kicks me in the teeth every time I read it.
Yeah.
What was the name again? Sorry.
Spiritual Leadership by J. Oswald Sanders. Okay. Yeah. The opening chapter
about ambition /
salvo on ambition is brutal.
It's so good. It's so good. So I try to reread that book every year. And then I love the book Humility by Andrew Murray. He was a pastor in South Africa, I want to say early 1900s. Mm-hmm. And he wrote quite a few books. Lord Teach Us to Pray, Waiting on God. He wrote Humility and a few others. And dude's just raw, but humility, it's another one that just kick you in the teeth.
Both of those are on my shelf.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Oh, come on.
Great books,
we are one and the same. And so though I love those two books, I also I'm a little biased, but when it comes to just practical things in life, like, what does it mean to live out being a man of God? How do you walk out your faith? How do you lead yourself, your family, as a man of God? Pastor Jeff's book, The Way to Win, is
great book.
It's like what? It's designed to. It's like 40 really bite-sized chapters designed to almost be like read a week at a time, to where you meet and you talk through it with other men. Just like practically speaking, it's so good. Because I
Pastor T gifted me that book years ago, and he checked in. He's like, "How's the book going?" And I think it was like 3 days later, and I was like, "I'm on chapter 17." I was just like,
I get a lot out of this.
I got sucked into it.
Oh, so good.
And bro, I was I underlined like
Oh,
notes.
100%.
And I was on the road for an FTX, and something happened where it's like, hey, gotta go, like, gonna have to fly. It was like gotta go cover down for another instructor, gotta get out. And I had most of the stuff with me packed up. Like, that's how I'll always do it. Like, I'll go to an FTX. Like, I don't leave my stuff in the hotel room. Most of the time, I'll like, whatever I need in case I have to run to the airport and go, it's with me. So it's not like, oh, I gotta go back to the airport, get this. Boom. It's like I can turn and burn.
Yeah.
Well, I had everything except for like a few things. Like, it didn't matter. Like, clothes, it didn't matter that if I didn't have or whatever. And that book was on the nightstand. So I had the guys go, because that's the other thing, is like, if I have to leave, they can go grab my stuff, mail it to me. So the guys go into my room to get my stuff. The book's gone. So whoever came in and cleaned my room snagged that book.
Good for them.
So
but
I was
still
furious initially, like mad. But then, like, it was a cool little like softening of my heart. I was like, you know what?
Yeah.
I hope they read the book, and I hope it blesses them, because I can go back to Milestone and buy another one. I was so mad. I was like, Pastor T gave this to me as a gift.
Yeah,
this was a gift.
I get that.
But then I'm like, you know what? Because I remember from one of my Royal Ranger leaders when I was a kid, we went camping. We came back to the vehicles when we were leaving, and the cars had all been broken into.
Yeah.
And they stole Bibles and like praise and worship tapes. So it was all the praise and worship tapes and Bible tapes in my leader's car. And he goes, God bless them. I hope that Bible blessed them like it blessed me, and I hope they love those praise and worship songs. And I'm sitting there going,
really?
Are we not mad? Yeah. Like, why, are we not mad that your windows are broken? Dude, and he just was like, boys, it's going to be an airy drive home.
Wow. That's like funny,
Earl
man.
Crouchley. I just remember that.
That's funny.
Sorry. So I just...
Yeah, no, those two...
The Way to Win is great.
Yeah. I would say those three got to top my list. Different genres, of course, have different, but yeah, for those,
cool.
Those are my top three.
What's your go-to in the Bible? Story, verse?
Yeah, anything in the life of David. I really think that David, because I can remember from the time I was in 4th grade just being so intrigued by the scripture talking about David being a man after God's own heart.
That's cool.
And then as I got older, verses like, is it 1 Samuel 16:7? Man looks at the outward appearance, but God looks at the heart. So just like true character, man, God looks at the heart. that just like seared into me from a young age, and then it has always impacted me getting older. So I love that. Philippians, James, and Hebrews are like got to be three of my favorites. When I first moved to Tulsa and was like, I'm gonna just sell out for God, I was like, all right, that means I got to start reading my Bible every day. And I think the book of James was the first book that I ever like read for myself and spent a ton of time in. And it, it just slap you in the mouth. When you start with, hey, consider it pure joys when trials of all kinds arise. It's like, because this will produce character in you. I was like, wow, that's great. But just even so that draw near to God and he will draw near to you. Double-minded man's unstable in all his ways. Like, there's so much in there that just really challenged me. What'd
you say? Double-minded man.
Yeah, the double-minded man is unstable in all his ways.
It's a quote from James.
Double-minded?
Yeah.
I was hearing you say devil-minded. I'm like, I don't know.
Devil-minded?
Double-minded. And that's unique because when you were graduating high school, you kind of felt that way about yourself.
100%.
Okay, cool.
100%.
I think we can all relate to that. I know I've struggled with that over the years, and even being at Echelon Front, there's a lot of times I'm like, I don't think I should be doing this anymore.
Well, and so another book I just finished that actually had like pretty big impact on me is it's like the Winning the War in Your Mind. It's a Craig Groeschel book.
Oh, okay.
And I had never read any Craig Groeschel, but my wife was always like, man, his stuff's actually really good. So I audiobooked it, and he read it, and he's pretty interactive and animated, so it was a great listen. It was shorter. But man, there's so much good stuff in there and I can be guilty of reading for information versus application. And he had so much stuff in there that was like applicable, and is talking about like, hey, the neural pathways in your mind, and when the average human has something like 500 intrusive thoughts a day, and your life really will follow your thoughts. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Like, the Bible has so much to say about the things that you think and you meditate on, which is crazy.
I'm so glad you said that.
Which is crazy.
I was watching some videos and doing a little research on that, and I truly believe and agree with that. One, because it's a biblical thing, but there's a lot of secular studies and people that have said the same thing. It's like, hey, what you meditate and think about and focus on, who you are in life is based off of how your brain has been programmed.
Yes. And your attitude follows your thoughts too.
100%. And which is cool, is because that's the way God designed us. So if you don't like what's going on in your life, you can reprogram your brain to think different ways. Therefore, you can achieve different things.
100%.
100%.
In the day and age of like mental health is very real, and will not downplay, and there are real chemical things. But in a day and age where people are very quick to assign, it's like, if we did a little bit more of what the Bible commanded us to do, hey, we cast down every thought that, exalts itself against the kingdom. We set our minds on things above. Philippians, hey, whatever things are pure, peaceable, noble, righteous, holy, meditate on these things. Psalm 1, the man who meditates on the word of God is like a tree planted by rivers of living water that produces fruit in every season, and leaf doesn't fade and fruit doesn't wither, and yada yada. Like, there's just so much about the things that you meditate on. But the actuality of like applying that to your life is a lot, easier said than done. But that's, you never grow out of that one. Oh, what have I been thinking about recently? And man, the word will be so quick to convict. Maybe I shouldn't dwell on that.
I like that.
Maybe I shouldn't so.
So I was looking through my phone to bring up a text message. One of my best friends that I grew up with, Aaron Bobier, awesome, just a great human, man. Since like first grade.
Yeah.
Been connected.
Come on.
And he joined the military as well after high school. There's actually a picture of us in our dress blue uniforms together. I was at his boot camp graduation because I was in A school. He graduated boot camp. I was able to go to it.
Oh, nice.
It was a really cool thing. And ended up moving to San Diego when I was still stationed there. And it's just really cool, right? And our families are really close.
Awesome, man.
Just an awesome man of God. His wife, when he met his wife, she was very young and she had never been in a serious relationship, a woman of God, he's just a great human.
Yeah.
And he likes to do just for him is just like, man, just challenge himself to do really hard things. And
I wish I did more of that.
I know. I'm like, dude. And he sends me a video. I'm not going to play the video. Well, I'll play it and we can edit out if he says something that's inappropriate. I can't remember. I mean, we try to keep this. Our rating is still for everybody, which is incredible.
Yeah, got it.
Let me see.
A nervous thumbs up.
Or I'll play it back and then I can bring it back.
We can, I mean, you can play it now, and then I'll just cut the video into the podcast.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. And then if he says something inappropriate, I'll bleep it.
3 a.m. It's the last round of the 4x4x48. Tired, chafed, sore. Motivation is a 0. Let's go.
Okay, so nothing inappropriate there.
Woof.
And I was like, holy crap, bro, that's incredible. He goes, hated every second of it. So if you're not familiar with what that is you run 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours.
Oh, yeah, that challenge.
I was like, so 4 miles every 4 hours for 48 hours? He goes, correct. I said, how much of it did you run? And how much would you consider you jogged? And did you walk any of it? He goes, which can be challenging with the kiddo schedule and just life. Have to drop everything and go get the miles in. He goes, I would say I never ran. I never walked. My pace was between 12 minutes to 9 minutes miles at a time. I'm like, 9-minute mile, you're running, bro.
I was gonna say,
that's running.
That's a good pace.
Yeah. I was like, dude, that's awesome. He goes, honestly, I thought it wouldn't be that hard, but it was pretty difficult for me. I'm not what I would call a good runner, and it took a mental toll on me too, which was kind of fun at the same time. That's why I'm reading this, because of what you're talking about. I was like, man, I need something like that in my life. This is what I love. He goes, it's there for the taking, bro.
Whoa.
This whole process has been pretty hard. I have to wake up at like 3 or 4 in the morning on the weekends because he's been preparing for a 100-mile race.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, super
So
marathon
this
or
whole
ultra.
process has been pretty hard. I have to wake up at like 3 or 4 in the morning on the weekends to do a 6 or 7 hour run in. It can be brutal, but it has been so good for me mentally. It's been nice to have a purpose that's my own and doesn't have anything to do with the kids, because he's a stay-at-home dad. His wife is very successful in what she does. And yeah, she was like, hey, he's like, I can stay at home with the kids. They have 4 kids also. So
That's a lot of kids.
yeah. I said, hey, man, I'm super proud of you. And then I was like, hey, I'm sending you a package tomorrow with a bunch of Jocko Fuel stuff. Anyways, so I want to share that because to me, it was a good reminder of like, similar to what you're talking about. It's like, hey, just like we can endure hard things.
Yeah.
And I think as Christians, we need to put ourselves in positions to test ourselves, to test that mental fortitude like you did joining the military, because it's during those times of like fasting or hard physical things that you find it's like I think we just naturally go back to like, okay, we lean on the Lord for that strength, which puts us in that good position. Like the hike I'm going to be doing with Luke and Tyron and Chris and Mike in September. I mean, that I was showing my buddies that live in Idaho the hikes that we're doing. My buddy's like, I hope you're training for this.
Yeah.
He goes, that's a gut check. I'm like, I know it is. And I'm just looking forward to it because it's going to be miserable. Yeah. But it's also going to be so rewarding.
So good.
So rewarding. And I just love the whole thought process of putting ourselves in those hard 100%. Positions to test ourselves.
One of our pastor's wives, so Pastor Jeff Peltier is, has been like this almost like father figure for years. Probably one of the main reasons I'm on staff. Like, amazing guy, amazing pastor. Could probably be the CEO of a Fortune 500, not even blink. Like, he's just incredible. What I admire most about him, though, is he incredible husband, incredible dad. More than all of that, he's a guru on these things. His wife, who's a saint and just insane in the kitchen. She's the Cajun. She cook anything, dear Lord. But she always talks about she's like, I wish that, because when we work with kind of students 18 to 23, especially that range, or even probably starting about 16 up to just the thought of do hard things. You need to do hard things, and it's even biblical. Romans 5, right, talks about endurance. When you endure things, it becomes character. It forges character in you. So it's even biblical that the enduring of hard things and trials and just stuff you're going through in life forges character within you. Like, that's biblical. And so I just think it's so good.
So what do you do to push yourself? Working out, jiu-jitsu, like what do you do?
Not as much jiu-jitsu as I would probably like.
But you got into it.
You
tried it
yeah.
out. It's there for you whenever it makes
100%.
sense for your schedule.
Yeah.
That's a prioritize and execute thing. It's not a priority right now with all the youth stuff, the summer stuff, a pregnant wife, a young son. Like, you got a lot of stuff going on.
Jay's about to turn. Well, he'll be 2.5, turning 2.5. He is 2.5. And then, of course, my wife's due like August 9th.
Come on.
So we got a little girl right here.
Cora and Noel are so excited.
I love how excited that they are. I just love your girls. And even Amanda's so thoughtful, sending stuff over. What a nice lady. It's probably just gym. I try to go every day except for Wednesdays and Sundays.
Are you like a Pastor Jesse there at 4 in the morning?
No. There's something mentally wrong with him. I'm kidding. God, like, that's amazing. People who can do that. Heck yeah, that's an amazing discipline. It's an amazing discipline.
Jesse, Jocko, there's something mentally wrong with you guys. That's not normal. My buddy Will Grump, Grumpke. I always say his last name wrong. Grumpke. Grumke. My buddy Will from First Form.
Oh, yeah.
Dude
Grumpke
wakes up at 3:10 in the morning so that he can get all of his stuff done before the day starts.
I don't hate myself, so I don't do that. I'm kidding. I mean, I admire people that have that.
I do
but
too.
you know people who have discipline, it's almost like this flex, like, no, I'm disciplined. That's what I do. And I'm like, hey, good on you. I wish I had.
I'm also
more
up until
discipline than that.
1 a.m. thinking about things and working on things. So
Exactly.
there's zero chance I'm waking
Different
up
flow.
3 hours later.
It's like Pastor Tyron. He's like, I'm a night owl, into the night workouts. I'm like, dude, good on you.
I know.
Super disciplined.
Like, when
into
you've
it.
come over a few times, you and Pastor T, it's like, hey, we're going to start our workout at 9:30 at night. I'm like, yes,
I do. I
let's
love
go.
it. I'm so much more into that, for sure.
Okay, so gym every day.
So pretty much just gym. I play it. It's just been the
Pickleball?
last couple of weeks. No, I'm trying to get back into golf.
Okay.
And
I was talking about sports, but that's okay. We can go down there.
Yeah.
Golf is so hard.
So is chess. But that doesn't make it a sport.
Pastor Drew's going to attack me.
Yeah, Pastor Drew, Pastor Ty. It's, I mean, one of the hardest things to master is the golf swing. Like, it's crazy how, like, technical, but even, like, tracking it on my Garmin the last time that we went, man, I walked some miles and I burned some calories, and I got very sunburned because I am very white. So, but
Maybe some of that little Calico skincare products we have that helps with that. Just saying.
I love that.
We got you covered.
I love that. So, does it come with a steak?
You can order. Yeah,
You'll smell like steak afterwards.
Yeah. We can.
Hey,
we can
love it.
We can do a combo.
Love it. So yeah, pretty much I would say gym's probably it for now. Yeah, jiu-jitsu when I can. And I love that mental side. It's like mental chess.
Yep.
Like the couple times that I went, I was like, this is a different gear mentally.
Yeah.
And to me, that's fascinating because I don't think I really have too many other places in my life that are doing that. Because gym by myself is one thing. When I come and work out with you,
I love it.
or when I go with Luke and he makes me do things that like I don't normally do, I love that because I'm like, okay, now I'm being pushed and challenged, and I got to dig a little bit mentally, and I like that.
Yeah. I love that. Mentors in your life. I know you've talked about a lot.
Yeah. Man, just thinking about this.
I literally think every person you've talked about has definitely been and or is a mentor
Yeah.
in your life. But is there anybody that you would just consider like, hey, this is my go-to person, whether it's obviously male or female?
Yeah,
you know, from that
honestly,
advice aspect.
honestly, Pastor Luke, which it's cool because we're like peers, and I would consider him like my best friend in the world.
Yeah.
But in the same regard, he's also like several years older, 3 kids, married longer, and he never tells me what I want to hear. Like if I want to vent about life or job or whatever, and he's like, bro, if you can't win where you are, you're not going to win anywhere else. I'm like, yes sir, can I have another? So he's like, I definitely my first person I think that I go to is Luke. Super helpful. Pastor Drew is we have a great relationship from when we worked, like when he was my direct report, and now I still kind of like quasi work for him, and he's great too, and of course older, married longer, kids, ministry longer. So love Pastor Drew, Pastor JP, Jeff Belta really is. It's like, man, I need to go to. Let's go to lunch. Let's catch up. He's great, especially a guy who's 50 something, and just wise as can be. Yeah. Love that. And then another one randomly I thought about, a guy named Chris Area at the church, owns a roofing company. His wife Rebecca works at the church. The last probably year he's become someone who I'll just pick his brain about. He's probably more along the lines of like finances. He's a wizard with his finances. He's also like one of the most generous dudes that I've ever met. That's cool. And he's always going to challenge you in that way. Is God your source? Like, are you being generous? Like, it's so. I really over the past few months, I found myself having more conversations with Chris. Hey, new baby's coming up. Thinking about car. Thinking about this. And he's just real quick to, hey, here's some things I would think about. Have you thought about, how much it costs to operate a vehicle year over year? Have you looked at what that looks like on different cars? Have you been keeping up with, used versus new car market and kind of how they're correlating and blah, 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 blah. So he's like, I love stuff like, I'm like, cool, coach me up.
Sweet. So I'm buying a Toyota.
Yeah, basically. He's like, yeah, I mean, yeah. So, yeah.
Some of the Toyota dealerships, I just learned this. I was like looking at some different Toyotas, and some of the Toyota dealerships are now doing this. It's like select ones. I think they're going to start doing more of them, but there's one here in Denton that does it. Lifetime warranty.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a big deal, especially for a Toyota, man.
Yeah, most of the time they have a crazy good warranty anyways, which you don't use because they're so well built. Lifetime
but still to
warranty.
Have. That's awesome.
Lifetime warranty. And I was like, okay, cool. So I trade in my vehicle. I get this Toyota. Something happens to the engine, and I was just like looking through it. So with the lifetime warranty, if you like blow your engine, it costs you $538 to get a brand new engine.
That's awesome.
I'm like, okay,
that's neat.
That's unreal.
Hey, my first car in 1998, Toyota Camry. We called it the Golden Stallion. Had 2 kicker 12s in the trunk. And the bumper, for whatever reason, was like a slightly different, like puke gold of a color.
Yeah.
Boy, I was cool.
It's a beautiful car.
It really was. It really was.
That's awesome. Man, so okay, you just this new role this last year. It's been fun.
Yeah.
Where has it challenged you?
Yeah, so it's challenged me in a lot of ways. So I would say that I am I'm super people oriented. Yes. Like people first all the time.
Yep.
But I think sometimes I know that in the past I'm so people oriented that I'll be a little bit more lackadaisical when it comes to systems, process, tasks, planning ahead, like almost more like administrative type stuff. So the department that I moved into, very task oriented, very systems. Everything's got a system, a structure, a task, a schedule, a plan, And so to me, even when Pastor Jeff was like, what would you think about taking over the middle school? I was like, I don't know that I would flow well with that team just based on kind of wiring. Like, I'm not really cool. I'm not really trendy. I'm not really, like, student ministry has a lot of that edge. I was like, I'm a very, like, vanilla dad. You know, I'm bald. I'm going to wear, you know, a Cowboys hat and, like, not cool clothes all the time. I'm like, I just don't know if it'll work. But I feel like I've grown a lot with, you know, preparation, system, structure, even the importance of tasks, you know. Because, like, you think about the story of Martha and Mary in the Bible, you know, Mary sits at the feet of Jesus and calls Martha the taskmaster. Well, what Martha's doing is still important. The tasks still have to get done. There's still things that need to be accomplished. But the most important thing would be, you know, sitting at the feet of Jesus, the relational aspect of it. And so I almost feel like I've grown in my ability to execute a task, to think down differently, to formulate a team, to even one of the best things I got out of muster when I came was, you know, decentralized command. It was just like, how do I help, even now, working on restructuring our volunteer kind of leadership team that we have in place? What does that look like? Who are the people? Do they know who they report to? Do they know what being a volunteer in this capacity, if you're going to step into a leadership role, what all it entails? So some of the task, system, structure, scheduling, planning ahead, I feel like I've grown a lot in that this year, while trying not to sacrifice at all. I will always be people over tasks.
Yeah. So you had to be very intentional to make those shifts?
Yes. And honest, swallowing my pride a lot. Like, well, I don't like that. Well, that's not my wiring. Well, that's like, I don't want to be the person that's ever hiding behind the excuse of, well, I'm just not administrative. It's like, you can grow in that way.
Yeah, you can. It's a skill set.
Yeah, and you can be humble enough to submit to the leadership of the team that you're on, because if you let your pride get in the way, that creates division. But if you're submitted, and so that's been a lot of my heart posture, I think, over the years, been like, man, I'm going to be submitted. I know that that humility precedes honor, and I want to be quick to honor, you know, my immediate boss, regardless of how different we are. He's incredible, and he's wired and does things way different than I do, but it's been so good for me. So it's been quite the year. Like I said, a year ago yesterday, been quite the year, but I feel like I've grown in a lot of good ways, and I've also feel like having a more unique wiring, I've brought some good things to the table. So
that's awesome.
Unique,
man.
All around. Yeah,
that's rad. That's
great.
Cool. Lucas, what do you got, man? Before we close it out.
Yeah. So I've got a few things. There's a lot of similarities there. A lot of crossover, which we've talked about. One thing in particular that kind of stands out to me that I was writing down, you know, you mentioned, and I think this will be helpful for youth pastors and also for parents. You know, you mentioned you were at a point in your life where you were dating a girl that you knew you weren't going to marry.
Yeah.
You are hanging out with friends that you know aren't going to last. You're doing things that you know. You can admit this is not what my life is going to be.
Yeah.
None of these things are going to be permanent.
Yes.
How do you counsel students who come to the point and they say, hey, you know what? You know, you say, hey, why are you dating this girl when you know you're not going to marry her? Why are you doing all these things? How do you counsel them through that period in their life?
I think it's like students and like immaturity, you're only thinking about the next few steps in front of you. You're only thinking about, you know, we live in an age of immediate gratification.
Yeah.
So it's like everyone wants the microwave, no one wants the crock pot. Like, but when I told Pastor Jed I wanted to be a pastor, he's like, hey, it's a crock pot process and no one skips the line.
And the best meals come from a crock pot, not a microwave.
Man, come on, Betty Crocker. So 100%. But students live for, and I think the social media age really spurs on that immediate gratification. So I think it's helping students, where there is no vision, the people perish. And it's like, how do you help students get a vision for their future and what it could look like?
That's good.
You can preach till you're blue in the face. And a lot of the times with them, though, it's like, hey, you've got to get this from God. Like, I can lead a horse to water, but I can't make it drink. So I think a lot of the times with students, it's even helping point out some of the things that they just don't know yet. It's like, have you thought about the person that if you stay down this path, where are you going to be a year from now? You could look up in 5 years and have not grown and not be in a different and settled and married this person out of a place of loneliness, and now you're not walking in maybe all that God has for you because you started doing things your own way. There's probably a lot there that you can say, but it's really tough just to get students to see like beyond the weekend. Yeah. It's like, hey, just getting them to think about the future. I honestly think, it's so cheesy, but the best way I think is just like, man, if I can point you to God, and if you could pull some truth out of his word, if you could get a word from God for yourself, if you could hear his voice for yourself, it's going to help you. Especially if you can get them when they're younger. It's like, if I can get you into the practice and habit of, you don't have to come to me. I will be a voice in your life. I will be a pastor in your life. I will help lead and guide and love on you. I will give you wisdom. But if we can, if you would maybe depend less on me and other voices in your life, and you learn to go get it from God on your own, that's going to be something that benefits you for years to come. Especially with young men. One day you're going to have to lead your wife spiritually. One day you're going to have to be the head of your home. What does that look like? So I think some of that kind of correlates together, especially with young men. It's like, hey, I'm going to help, but at the end of the day, it's what you learn. It's how you learn to go to God on your own. It's how you learn to hear his voice. You better get in that Bible, because the primary way that God speaks to us is through his word. So I'm always quick to really harp on that, especially with young dudes, and even with young women too. It's like, hey, you can hear God. Like, this ain't Old Testament Christianity. You can hear God. Like, so
that's cool.
Yeah,
that's huge.
Right on, man.
So I know we're getting ready to close it out. I have some final thoughts. Ethan will close us out with his final thoughts, but I just want to thank all of you guys for supporting the podcast by listening, sharing, subscribing, commenting. That's huge. When you guys literally copy and paste the podcast and send it to friends and families and ask them what they thought about it and post it on social media with the link for them to watch, that's been really helping us out. We appreciate it. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube so you can be notified when we have our YouTube exclusive episodes that come out. If you want to follow us on social media, I am at JP Dinnell, 2 N's, 2 L's. Lucas is at Lucas Pinkard, Lucaspinkard, and Ethan is at Ethan C. May. Make sure you're following Echelon Front to see what we have going on social media. We are at Echelon Front. Our website is echelonfront.com. Check out the upcoming events. FTX 14 is actually sold out, but we have FTX 15. We also have the Women's Assembly in September. We have the muster coming up here in DFW, a lot of really good events. We already have events for next year on the calendar, the Battlefield, the Council. It's just awesome to see what we have going on at Echelon Front, and I love that we have listeners that come to those events, and it's just really cool seeing the connection of the communities. And also, if you have a company that you need help with your leadership or your professional development of your people, that's what we do. We are a leadership consulting company. I'm our chief training officer, one of our lead senior instructors and strategic advisors. So that's what we do. We work with companies to help them solve problems through leadership. So you can have one of our instructors come work with you. And if you want, also part of a ministry called Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu. On Instagram, we are at Jesus and Jiu-Jitsu_USA. Part of that ministry with Isaac, Stephen, and Josh. We have a podcast that has episodes that come out every Tuesday, doing live events about every 4 to 6 weeks.
the live events. We have somebody give a free jiu-jitsu seminar, somebody shares their testimony, and then we open it up, and then we obviously close out the testimony with prayer. We have Bibles for people that need it, prayer of salvation. We've had multiple salvations from the last events, which has been really cool. Pastor Tyron's testimony was incredible.
He was saying, he's like, man, I had a great time. They had a big turnout. It was awesome.
Yeah, it was. We had almost 200 people there.
That's awesome, man.
And
so cool.
And then also we have a discipleship program that Isaac's been taking lead on. The next one is going to be, well, when you listen to this, never mind. So it'll have already
Shout
been
out
posted.
Isaac, I love you.
Yeah.
But if you follow us on Instagram, you'll know when those events are going to be. Also a partner of the Texas Beef Company with my best friend Stephen Little, called Little Cattle Co.
Get that beef.
Yeah, dog. Our website is littlecattle.co. We can deliver anywhere in the lower 48 states. We're a custom order a la carte beef company, which means that you can order exactly what your family needs, whatever you want, based off of those desires. You don't have to buy a box, which is nothing wrong with that, but that's not what we do. Our company allows you to buy whatever you want based off of what you want and need. We also have a ground beef subscription plan that's pretty popular. Lucas, you're on that 20 pound.
I am. Yeah, and the new packaging is so nice.
Dude, that new processor is
phenomenal.
Unreal. So I think when this comes out, we'll probably be 1 to 2, 3 at the longest, whatever. Our new beef sticks.
Really?
That's what
Real.
I'm stoked about them.
Need to try.
Starting off with the regular flavor. Real good, just neutral, like beef stick flavor. And I mean, you look at like the ingredients, it's beef and salt, garlic, and pepper.
Oh,
like that's it.
Yeah.
Like nothing else.
That's
No preservatives,
awesome.
like no dyes,
Heck
nothing.
yeah.
And then we have a jalapeno flavor one as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking
Got
about.
that good little kick.
My wife will appreciate that.
It's
I need to
man,
order.
Dude, it's awesome. So we're gonna have those coming out soon. Also, we have the beef tallow products, which talking about like the body butter, tallow cream, lip balm, lipstick. We also have an after sun care product that I've tested out, which is incredible for people like us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Gringos.
Caspers.
White boy. If you want to send your customers or clients a custom beef order, or if for any of our products, we can also send orders on your behalf. We can add notes, letters, cards, whatever you want to it. Also partner with a printing company called On the Path Printing. Josh Strasberg and I started that company on Instagram. We are at On the Path Printing. Just send us a message. Let us know what you want. We actually just got a few messages. And I know I'm just fired up because one of the messages we got, they're a SWAT team, full-time SWAT team, and they're like, hey, we want this printed on T-shirts and hoodies from Origin. So I'm working with Origin to get the wholesale account set up.
Super sick.
So everything's going to be 100% made, 100% American-made products from Origin, and then us printing here in Texas. So I'm pretty stoked about that.
NCC shirts from On the Path are coming up.
They are.
Non-commissioned civilians.
I heard that term.
Right.
I heard you say that on
baby.
the who was that?
Hashtag NCC
Carlos?
Mafia.
Yeah.
I listened to his yesterday. I was putting the
Carlos?
crib together,
Yeah.
and I heard him say NCC,
Bro.
and then you laugh at it. You're like, okay.
He hated it at first, but it's grown on him. It's good. Most of the stuff that I say, JP just automatically dismisses, and then somebody on
That is not
YouTube will
true.
be like, "Hey, that's kind of cool," and JP's like,
I guess it's
just
cool.
One of Lucas's
That
ideas.
is not true.
Like our beard banishment for the brave. That's we've got that coming up with our donations to America's Mighty Warriors.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if when we raise $5,000, so if people go to americasmightywarriors.org and if they donate any amount of money, and if in the comment they just say JP Dinnell podcast, Lucas shaving his beard, whatever, they're tracking that, and when we hit 5,000, he's going to shave his beard.
Yep.
Like clean, not trim it, but shave and get a tight, high and tight haircut as well.
We're going full circa and
Dude,
2003 JP Dinnell.
you're gonna
haircut.
scare your kids and your congregation.
Yeah, it'll
all
be
in
good.
one.
It's perfect. In one fell swoop.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
and any donation over $100,
Yep.
our friends over at First in Nutrition, 4 weeks of free nutrition coaching.
Yeah.
Give a donation.
It's
over
been pretty
$100,
cool. Some
yeah.
companies,
Heck yeah.
and so working with Johnny Slicks, also
Yeah,
that
Mr.
company.
Slicks.
So I just need to figure out what works best for them. So, but either way, we're going to use their products, whether we have an
been
official
using
partnership with them or not.
Already in my
The
hair.
products are awesome, and so
Wish
we're
I had
gonna
hair.
try to
Use
grow
that
out his
shave
beard.
soap.
Ooh, it's good.
Yeah. I'm excited about
Also, make sure you guys check out Bruiser Arms on Instagram. It's at Bruiser Arms for some training and or gear desires that you might have. We have these gun gear boxes that we've created that are very similar to the setup that we had in TU Bruiser and what we would carry now. And it's just a full complete. So, you know, over the years, we've always had people go like, hey, what gun should I buy? What should I do? And we give them recommendations, and, you know, they might follow through with it or they don't do it. But now it's like, okay, hey, oh, you want a rifle, a pistol, and a half-face blade all in one box, like literally custom made for you with the optic, like it's the weapon sighted in,
dope.
It's ready to go. They're like custom painted with the Bruiser Arms logos on them. You know, it's in a gun box with the foam like custom cut out, so all your stuff fits in there perfectly. Like, we got you.
Come on.
Yeah, it's incredible. So, also make sure you guys go to originusa.com and jockofuel.com to check out their products. I know we've been drinking the hydrates on this. What'd you think about that fruit punch?
It's really good. I had the powder.
You
as
thought
a
it was going
mustard.
to be.
That's my wife's favorite flavor is the fruit punch.
I had it. I had the powder at Muster. I'm surprised. Yeah, the drink's really tasty, and the fruit punch. Love it.
Fruit punches, I could drink it.
It's good
all the time.
It's good.
So originusa.com. Check out the best 100% American-made jiu-jitsu gear. Regular clothes. They have their jeans, their boots, their pants, their hoodies, their t-shirts, their hunt line, all the different pants. You got the Moabs on.
I do. Yeah.
They're super comfortable, huh?
You're like, hey, they sent me the wrong size, and I was like, I will reap that benefit. they're super comfy, especially big boy summer Texas heat. It works. It works.
So you can go check out their gear. You're supporting Americans here in America that are working to literally design and create you the best gear out there. Jocko Fuel, check out their products, energy drinks, hydrate drinks, the Mulks. If you go to 7-Elevens right now, they still have a deal on the Mulk RTDs. So
buy one, get one for $1 right now.
Yeah, they support us, so go support them. We appreciate everything that they do and all the support that you guys give to them. And when you tag us, it's pretty cool as well. So, Ethan, what closing thoughts do you have, my man?
Yeah. I mean, I think I just got to say shout out to my wife.
Yes.
Who's, I mean, I imagine she'll listen to this, but she's like my best friend in the world, like the greatest person that I know. Phenomenal wife, phenomenal mom, and just to see the person that she is, the wife and mother. So, love you, boo-boo. Also, thanks for giving me cute kids. We'll see what our daughter looks like. She should be here in a week or two. So, you know.
That's awesome.
Nice.
And also just thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be here. I love spending time with y'all.
Yeah.
You know, ministry is a great calling and a tough job. So I'm not that good. I'm just surrounded by good and people who make me better. So it's cool to do it, and it's just been, like I said, awesome hanging out with y'all here today. So thank you so much for having me out. Y'all are awesome.
I appreciate it. I will say you are good. You have had a legitimate, direct impact on our 3 kids in regards to how they love the Lord and they serve the Lord. You've been a great example to our 3 kids, and you know, my wife and I consider you and your wife friends of ours, and we appreciate everything that you do. And so my final thoughts just from this episode is seek the Lord in all the things that you do. That's what I got from this episode, and it's a good reminder of what I need to be doing more, and I need to be more intentional with how I seek the Lord. So I hope you do the same. And again, this episode has also been a reminder to go out there, do the work that's needed, and to never settle. This has been the JP Dinnell Podcast, episode 46.